I'd fry you some bacon.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
She don't eat pork?
Huh?
You said she don't eat pork?
Not a lot. She doesn't.
Oh, she does eat pork.
She will if I make it, or it's not in her nature to go buy it or make it. We eat a lot of chicken and hamburger. She wants to eat more fish, but I just can't eat fish.
No?
No. I every once in a while, but mostly no. She likes tuna. My wife likes tuna, and I can eat tuna, but I'm hungry like a half hour after. Tuna just doesn't fill me up. I don't know why. Everybody else in the house loves fish and stuff. That's cool.
We like tuna, don't we? Actually?
All right. Well, we're going into our lesson. I'm sorry I couldn't print one up for you. I got mine printed out. How's that? So we'll go over mine. We're going to talk about something that you may or may not hear a lot in churches, and a lot of people don't like to talk about it at all. It's a secret thing, but it is a part of addiction, and this is an addiction program. It's actually just a part of life. We're going to talk a little bit about depression. Now, when I say that, there's several schools of thought about depression. One, I want to let you know up front, depression of itself is not a sin. It's not a spiritual battle a lot of times. It can be, but most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's natural. You have a child die. You're going to be overjoyed? No. You're going to be sad. You're going to have natural depression. Now, what happens sometimes, though, it's natural to be depressed, but everyone gets over it. Everyone comes out of it eventually. The question is, are you getting out of it? We're talking a year, 2 years, 3 years later, you're not out of it, you got a problem. Okay? But if you're depressed because you lost a child or you lost a wife, or that's natural. You lost a job, it's natural. I'm also of the belief that some depression is a chemical imbalance and needs to be taken care of medically with drugs. Not everyone. You got to be careful about that. They give out drugs for like candy when it comes to depression. Sometimes it is a spiritual battle, sometimes it's a natural thing, sometimes it's a chemical imbalance. And you have to be careful who you get advice from, who you listen to, and what you do about it. Those drugs can be addictive, and everyone in this room knows that. Even the doctors who hand them out know that. It's not a sin of itself. It can be a sin, but in and of itself it's not. It's natural. So I always like to say that before we start, because everyone comes from the idea, if I'm depressed, that shows a lack of faith, and a lack of faith is sin. Baloney. We get sad. If you read in the Bible, several of the prophets, great men of God, got depressed. Elijah's one of them. Elijah got depressed. David got depressed. Moses. I can just go down the line. Job got depressed. Depression is a part of life.
Jonah.
Well, Jonah, that was sin, but that's why he's depressed. All right. There are 4 reasons why, main reasons why we get depressed. 1, loss.
That's the 3rd time I'm not going to do that anymore.
We get loss. You know, loss of job, loss of friendship, loss of money, loss of career, loss of family members who die early, or maybe not early. It could be a mother, it could be a wife, it could be whoever, a son, a child. So loss. Next one is guilt. And this is one that most addicts deal with, is guilt. They have guilt about their addiction, or they have a guilt before they got addicted, and now they're addicted, and now they have more guilt, and they just pile on more and more guilt. And they become depressed about guilt. Another one is a piling on of stress. We as human beings have different stress levels. Don't judge yourself based on how much somebody else can take stress or not take stress. We all have our own breaking points. But a piling on of stress, you get up, the tire's flat, and the battery's dead, and you got to be at work, and the stress of getting to work. And then you get to work, and the boss has a new procedure. That adds to stress. Or you forgot your phone. That adds to the stress. Or just before you got out the door, before you found the flat tire and the battery dead and the new procedure, your son says, "Oh, by the way, that money you gave me for my pictures, I lost it and I don't know where it is."
Mm-hmm.
And a piling on of a stress can cause depression. Look at poor old President Obama.
Yeah.
Look what stress has done to him.
Oh, baby.
The man went in, he was cool as a cucumber, good-looking guy. Now he's white hair, you can tell it's aged him. And that's one of the sad things about the presidency. You can do that with just about any modern president. You can see when they went in and when they left, you could see what the stress has done to them.
Still got a great smile though.
Yeah, he's got a good smile.
Yeah, and good
But you can
mind.
tell too, he's done. He's about done,
He's done.
Let somebody else put up with this.
Yeah, that woman do
And
it.
then the last one of the four major is health. You're sick, it could be cancer, it could be any kind of disease, lupus, and that'll cause depression. Some of it's tied in with the disease. I have Crohn's disease, and for some reason, Crohn's disease and depression tie in together. I don't know why, but it does. And I'm not sure why, if doctors even know why. So yes, I do struggle with depression on my own. And the health parts of it doesn't help. Chronic pain, somebody who has to live with pain a lot, bad back, whatever it may be, that can cause depression. And so, those are the four main reasons. We all go through it. We all live it. We all live with people or are part of it that have depression. So, to say that the Bible doesn't have anything to say about it is wrong. And to ignore it and not talk about it is wrong. There's a lot of people we can help. Even if you're an addict, one of the things you have to overcome to get through your addiction is your depression. Your depression. Let's look at some of the things here I got on my lesson. I've got Jeremiah written here. You could take a lot of the Bible characters who got depressed, but example of Jeremiah's mental state. Let's look at it. He says, "I was desertion to all my people, and their song all the day. He had filled me with bitterness. He hath made me drunken with wormwood." That means bitterness too.
What's the chapter verses?
Lamentations 3:14 through 20. "He hath also broken my teeth with gravel stone. He hath covered me with ashes, and thou hast removed my soul far from peace. I forgat prosperity. And I said, my strength and my hope is perished from the Lord. Remembering my affliction and my misery, the wormwood and the gall, my soul hath them still in remembrance. It is humbled in me." And again, that's Lamentation 3:14 through 20. As you notice, there are spiritual and physical and medical causes for depression. Okay? There's also different degrees of depression. It ranges from the blues, sadness, to despair and suicide. And those who struggle with depression, if you say you've never thought about suicide, I don't believe you. Those who struggle with it, and there's different forms. Not just sadness, but actual depression. The thoughts cross your mind. If not, they act or try. We're going to focus here on the Bible about the mental and the spiritual causes and the cures for depression. I cannot help you with the medical. Find a doctor. But I can help you with the mental and the spiritual. Okay? So let's look at Jeremiah's depression and see if it doesn't fit us sometimes. First of all, he had the feeling of defeat, failure. That's a loss. He felt like he was defeated. He said, broken teeth, covering in dust, and etc. I've been defeated. I'm low. I'm put down. He has a feeling of defectiveness. He says, I'm the laughing stock of all my people, filled with bitterness. It's the laughing stock of all his people. There's something wrong with me. I'm not normal. I'm not like everyone else. Or people make fun of me. People don't accept me, which causes depression. By the way, well, we may get to it, but I want to make sure for sure you know this. The worst thing you can do if you struggle with depression is to be alone. Don't be alone. Proverbs 18 verse 1 tells us that.
And
Don't be alone.
Depressed people want to be left alone.
I know that. So if you know somebody who's struggling with depression, don't let them be alone. Your mind goes crazy. You crazy thoughts. You come up with all kinds of... Again, read Proverbs 18:1. It'll tell you not to do that. Because the only thoughts, the only opinion, the only advice is whose?
Yours.
Yours. Yours.
Mm-hmm.
And you're already telling yourself you're not accepted. You're not acceptable. That's what he said. I feel, people are making fun of me. Next one, the feeling of being deserted. It said, God made him drunk, bitter, broken his teeth, and rejected from peace. God has left me. And depressed people will say that. Where are you, God? Why don't you answer my prayer? Why don't you work? Why don't you fix this? Or God, why did you take this away from me? What did my child do? Why did I lose my job? I worked hard. Why me? And I've been deserted. Or I've been deserted by my church, or my family, or my friends. Now, addicts, there's a reason why sometimes you feel deserted, because you are. You've hurt them enough. They do this. Go do your drugs. We don't want that in our... And I don't blame them. And when you start getting right in your head, you don't blame them either. But not at that moment in time, you don't. So Jeremiah says, I feel deserted, even from God. And then you have the feeling that you've been deprived.
Feeling what?
Deprived. He said he had no hope. Everything has been taken away from me. Everybody else is happy. Look, they've got their family and they're at the park and they're having fun. Where's my family? Look at him. He's got a job and he's got a car. Where's my job? Where's my car? Look how happy they are. Where's my happiness? And when you're depressed, those are thoughts that come across your mind. Negative thoughts is how depression works. It's all negative thoughts. Okay? He says here, his person, he was mocked. His present situation, in his mind it was horrible, devoid of peace and happiness. His future, what did he think about his future? Hope had perished, it was gone, he was in despair. That's how we are. Our person, everyone's abandoning us, people making fun of us, nobody cares. Our presence, everything is horrible. You ask somebody, what's wrong? Everything. Whenever they tell me everything, I say, good, then you can name one thing and let's start there. That's a depressed answer usually. Everything is wrong. It's horrible. Life's a mess. And ask a depressed person about their future. There is none. I have no future. All right, so that's Jeremiah and his situation. But there's good news. The Bible has things to say about depression. And this is just one story. But there's great news. In the Bible, it teaches us that depression and depressed people, there's hope. There is hope. There's a different way of viewing problems that sometimes consume us. There's a way out of the dungeon of depression. And here is how Jeremiah did it, okay? We get isolated a lot of times. We get into our own little dungeons, our doom and gloom, and believe there's no hope. And the Bible does, if you cannot read the Bible and not get hope. There's hope, even in the middle of your depression. In verse 21 of Lamentations chapter 3, which follows Jeremiah's thinking pattern of depression, we find out he dug his way out of this black hole of depression. This is exciting. He said, "This I recall to my mind, therefore I have hope." And there you have it. There you have it, the key. He changed his way of thinking and his way of looking at his circumstances, and hope returned. Okay? What did he start thinking now? He says, he reminded himself of God's mercy, God's compassion, God's faithfulness, God's goodness, and his portion of it. God's hope and God's salvation. That's Lamentations 3:22 through 26. He had to change the way he was thinking and begin to think about God and God's mercy, God's compassion. God is faithful. God is good. God loves me. And because God loves me, does He want me crushed? No. Does He want...
What were those scriptures?
Lamentations 3:22 through 26. And because God is good and God loves, and we begin to think on those things. That's why it says in Philippians to think on these things, whatever is lovely, whatever is good, whatever is righteous. Because when we begin to think of the evil in this world, and we begin to think of the bad, and we begin to think of our problems, who doesn't get depressed?
Mm-hmm.
There's enough out there to be negative about. But instead, think on these things. Think on the righteousness of God, the compassion of God, the love of God, the hope of God. That's what Jeremiah did. And because he began to change his focus of what he was thinking, his mind began to have hope. All right? Now, the Bible does says a lot of times that the battleground for our life is in our thinking, our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Our minds. That's why it says when you get saved that you're having a renewing of your mind. All right? And so the battleground is your mind. So let's look at some things that are negative thinking and then maybe how to challenge these, and then I'll be done, okay? And this will be a little more practical. There's another way you get out of depression too. Change how you think, but also change your actions. When I was depressed, a friend of mine told me, go out and help other people, which made me angry because I'm the one who needed help. But he was right. When you go out and help others, your mind is not dwelling on you, it's dwelling on them, and that works on your depression too. That fixes it. But here, Jeremiah just changed his thoughts. Okay, some negative thinking. One thing that can cause depression is all or nothing. All or nothing. Either I'm the best or I don't want anything. You know, second place isn't bad. Third place isn't bad. Is it?
Mm-mm.
Oh my goodness.
It beats a blank.
It beats not placing at all. And so some people say, "Well, I wasn't the best, or I wasn't the champ," and they get depressed. Be happy for being in second. Next one. Overgeneralize things. You generalize things from single negative experience, expecting it to hold true forever. You say things like, "I can't do anything right." And you make that general statement, and you believe it all the time. I can't do anything right. So when you get a job at McDonald's, you're going to mess up. You know why? You've already kept telling yourself what? I can't do anything right. I can't do anything right. Which causes depression. You'll say, "See, I can't do anything right. I mess up." Do you know what? People mess up. When I was a manager in grocery store or restaurants, and you were new, I didn't expect you not to mess up. Matter of fact, I got to where I just told people, "You know what? I know you're going to mess up. It's okay." I told them up front, "You're going to mess up. It's okay." All right? A mental filter, and what I mean by this, you ignore positive things in your life. That's negative thinking. You have a filter that takes all the positive and won't let it in.
Mm-hmm.
You forget there's a child who loves you. You forget that you have a good job. You forget you have a good church, or you forget you have good friends. No, you become focused on the negatives and forget the positives. You know, I lost my wife. Okay, and that's great. I mean, not great, but I mean, that's what happens. And you get focused on what you lost there and forget about you got 4 or 5 or maybe 3 kids that love you. And good kids. She's gone. And it's sad. So where's my focus need to shift? Not on my loss, but what I have positive. I should be focusing more on my kids now. Let's say I don't have children and they're busy. Do I have a good church? Then focus on that. We have so many positive things in our lives. Every one of us. And so you don't know my life. There ain't nothing positive. That ain't true. If you're alive and you're breathing and you're a Christian, there's a lot of positive in your life. And you can add to it. 1, find a good church. That'll add a lot of positives to you.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and help other people. That'll add a lot more positives. Go find your mom and give her a hug and spend some time with her. Go find a friend that you haven't talked to in a while. Lots of positives out there. All right? Get that. You have that mental filter that blocks that. Diminishing the positive, you play down the positive, and somebody says, "Well, didn't you get your tax check?" "Yeah, but it's already spent. It's already gone."
Mm-hmm.
That may be true, but okay, you got the money to pay the bill that you needed to go to, didn't you? It's all how we think, guys. The battleground is your mind. The devil knows it. And that's where he plays. Jumping to conclusions is a negative. I already know what somebody's thinking. I already know what they feel. I already know they don't like me. You walk into a room and there's 15 people there and they're talking and nobody jumped up and grabbed and hugged you, so you already know everybody there hates you. That will cause depression every time. Don't jump to conclusions. How do we know what people are thinking? We're mind readers. We can't. I don't know what anybody's thinking right now in this room. Some might be thinking, "I wish he'd shut up. I don't want to talk about this." I don't know that. Others might be saying, "Man, he's nailing me good." Who knows? How am I supposed to know what you're thinking? But we'll jump to conclusions, and that will always lead to depression. Because what we always jump to is the negative, not the positive. Nobody at work likes me. Well, how do you know? I know it. I feel it. Really? Really? All right. Emotional reasoning. Be careful about this. What will always lead to depression is making decisions on your emotions. Based on your emotions. That'll cause problems. Try to make decisions based on facts, based on knowledge that you have, questions. Try not to make decisions based on emotions. All right? And that'll always lead to failure and loss and cause depression. Be careful about these should have and should not have. These are guilt thinking. I should have married that person. Or I should not have married this person. Or I should not have been at that party. Or I should have been at that party. Or I should have taken that job. Should have and should not have thinking will make you depressed. Man, if I had married that guy, I should have married him. Look, he's got his own motorcycle business now, and I could have been setting good. But no, I married Lumpy over here on the couch. Who's not going to get depressed over that? Stop that. Stop that thinking. Okay? Next one, labeling. Labeling.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't label yourself in a negative way. Quit saying I'm a failure. Quit saying I'm nothing. Quit saying I cannot do. Or quit saying I'm not smart enough. Quit saying those things. You've already defeated yourself. And that will always lead to depression, because whatever prophecy you put out there, they call self-prophecy, you will meet it. Because you've already set yourself down that road. Quit saying those things. All right? If you want to, say, if anything, with God's help, I can do this. You don't have to be so cocky to say, I can do everything. I can fix everything. I'm the answer. Nobody likes that either, and that's a different ballgame we'll talk about differently. But you can say, I'll try my best. Or, with God's help, I'll get this done. Or, sometimes you can go back to the past and say, you know, I did a good job at Dunkin' Donuts. So I could probably do a good job here at Ace Car Rental, or whatever. You know, I've done it before. I can do it again. All right? Quit labeling yourself. Don't listen to other people's labels of you either. Most people label you negatively so they can keep you down. Jealousy is rampant in the human race. I got my money, I don't want you to get my money. I got my success, I don't want you to get success, because you might get my success. If you don't believe me, get in a business where you can move up fast to management, like a restaurant or, you know, some of those things, and see how helpful the managers are. They're scared to death that you might know something or be better than them. They're not going to teach you. They're scared. And they begin to start labeling you. He's lazy, or he's not smart, or he's prideful, or he's arrogant, or he's... Don't listen to other people's labels. Don't do that. That'll cause depression. Okay? All right. I'll take like 5 minutes and I'll go over how to challenge negative thinking, and then I'll let you guys have your time. Think outside yourself. Ask yourself, if you would say what you're thinking about yourself to someone else. If not, stop being so hard on yourself. Think about less harsh statements that offer more realistic descriptions. That's a lot of words to say this. If I went to you and I said, hey, I'm an idiot, would I say that out loud to somebody? Usually not, because they're going to challenge that, hopefully challenge that. If you won't say it out loud to people, don't say it in your head.